We're gonna get done.
Hey, you think life is going to be about being serious? No. All right.
Though famous for his works in sports, Dr. Don Rukare says there is more to him than the titles.
Who is Don Rukare? And Don Rukare is a Ugandan lawyer and sports administration. I was born way back, 1968, so now I'm 55 years, believe it or not. I started out as one of 5 children of Professor and Mrs. Rukare. We grew up in Makerere, children of teachers and lecturer. So I grew up my formative years in Makerere, went to then Norman Godino Primary School, went to Ntare School, the only school, but due to the war, yes, only school, due to the war I had to leave. That's the 1986 war. Joined college school to redo S4. It was a bit of a, I had refused. I was a bit of a stubborn student, but I didn't want to be in the same class with my small sister.
But why did you?
Because you see, Grace, you're too young to remember. We had the war of 86. So we were cut off. We were in the West in Ontario. We didn't do our S4 exam, so we had to. So my father convinced me not to sit the special exam because I would not do it. But as a young person, I didn't see the vision. And some young people sometimes don't see the bigger picture that their parents have. So I refused to redo S4. I wanted to do the special exams. But since we had been out of school for 6 months, it's better to redo the whole year, prepare properly. And so I had to redo S4. I went to college school. Mr. Kimuli was very kind. Our headmaster then was very kind to give me a place. I joined S4 Red. First time to be in a mixed school, so it was quite interesting. I had a few.
Primary school was
That's different. I am talking about when you're almost now
like
a teenager, beginning to understand the bees and the birds and the bees, as they say. So being in S4 Red, there are a number of friends of mine who are not mentioned because now they are married women, who teased me a lot because I was coming from Intari. So sitting next to a girl was a bit of a challenge, coming from an all-boys school. But by second time, we had got used to we used to call them Binzari in college school.
Where did
Because, because of the yellow uniform. Yeah, so there were a number of people. But of course, I have to give shout out to people like Mary Kagoro, Julie Luther, Cindy Senoga, Mary Sembatia. Quite an interesting group of people. Apollo Lomu, Stephen Segwani. So it was quite an interesting group of people. Yes. So we finished my O-levels in college school, a bit stubborn, but managed. Teachers like Madame Juliana Nyombi and Mrs. Luswata tried to keep us on the narrow path. We then came back for A-levels and went to law school, Livingston Hall, the only hall, did some bit of swimming there for the university, joined LDC, then started working as a lawyer, one with Sam Kutes and Company Advocates, then joined IGG's office to prosecute corruption for a couple of years. Left there, went to the LDC to start the clinical legal education program. Then joined Development Corporation, Irish Embassy. And then from Irish Embassy went to the European Union to run the human rights program. Then joined USAID projects, where I've been since. And then in between there, of course, went to study a bit. Went to Holland or Netherlands for some postgrads. Then went to Sweden, did further masters and all those things. South Africa, University of Pretoria, did the Doctor of Laws there. Then I joined sports. But all this time, Grace, I was involved in sports, swimming for Uganda.
Rukare says he got into sports as early as 4 years old, but only took it serious at 6 years, representing Uganda in several competitions then.
But competitively, I started at the age of around 6, swimming at university, in the university pool road, university swimming pool. And then as I grew up now, into the late 70s, early 80s, I started swimming. I still have a number of national records at that pool. And into the 90s, I kind of retired from active swimming in the 90s. I think that's the first time I lost a race to Louis Kikonyoga. I remember that race very well. I came from LDC in swimming, coming from the Chikabada, meaning no training. Straight from the Chikabada into the pool. It was a very stupid thing to do because I had not trained. I was going on past glory, and I almost it took me 12 hours to recover.
From that loss?
Not even from just physically, I had to be. I had no, not a sore loser. I'm talking about the adrenaline. I don't think for the sports people who are watching this, they understand. When you amagurutega kola, things were not moving. Yeah, because I could hardly move. I did 2 races and a relay, and that was the relay was what broke the camel's back, and I'll never forget that. My heart was racing. It wasn't being sore about the loss. In sports, you learn how to lose. You lose and you come back. But I'm talking about the physical part of it, Grace, where your heart is racing until midnight. You're not recovered. The adrenaline, you can't walk because the adrenaline in your legs is still there. It's not drained out. So it took me about 12 hours to recover. Then I decided to accept that time has come to retire, but I then retired in 2 masters. So now I swim masters. I'm part of Formidables. We do quite a good job. We swim now at Waves. We swim at Nobview. We're current Ugandan champions and Africa champions in Zone 3. So we're doing well. And so that's the swimming part of it. But also did squash, badminton, basketball. But yeah, and then from there I also joined sports administration around 2004-03 to the Swimming Federation as the president with Peter Mugisha, Joseph Chasanko the late, Moses Mwase joined us later. And we've been moving ever since. And then from there, I would say that...
So how did he join sports administration?
Actually, I joined sports administration by accident. I was not really planning to do this because we had tried with Madame Maggie Chigozi to get involved, but then we couldn't. But then that one Saturday morning, they called me, Jangu, come to Nugogo, there's a meeting. I found that a kind of general assembly, and then I was elected without even having stood for the position. But we stood, and that's how we started being in this journey of sports administration. So I did swimming from 2004. Then around 2011, I joined the Olympic Committee with Rogers Dungo. At that point, President Rogers Dungo of the UOC as an executive member. Then in 2012-13, I joined as Secretary General. I was elected, and now President of UOC. But also along the way, did some courses in sports administration, a master's in sports management and one in sports law. Became an arbitrator. Now I teach governance on the MEMOS program at the IOC program, which is in Lausanne and other places. I teach sports law at Madrid. So it has been an interesting journey as a sports administrator, but it has evolved. I became chairman of the National Council of Sports during COVID, and Minister Obua, I thank him for appointing me. We peacefully handed over. So I sit on the World Aquatics Bureau, the ITF Ethics Commission, but more recently I was honored and privileged to be elected Vice President of the Commonwealth. So it's been an interesting journey in many ways in terms of sports has been good in terms of meeting friends, going places, but also being given a chance. And in many ways I thank God, I don't take it for granted that we've been able to serve in these various capacities. And I think, so for now, I think that's a brief. Yeah, I'm married with one wife and one child that I know of. The wife is David. No, the wife is David. The wife is Jackie and Amara. I thank her for keeping up with us. Sports guys were never around, but she's been very tolerant. She's still with me. She hasn't yet run away. David is our son. He's 16. He does a bit of sport. He claims to play football, but he did swimming a bit. Yeah, so that's who I am in a nutshell.
He sheds light on some of the achievements he's had thus far.
The achievements are...
Top achievements.
Top achievements are, I think, for me in swimming, we turned around swimming. Not I, we, as a team. We turned around swimming. We had almost 2 clubs. Now we have over 50 clubs and schools, more than that. We have an active calendar. We have coaches who are well trained. We have officials who are on the World Aquatics list, over 6. We have a lady going for the first time to Doha, Ronita. We congratulate her. So we even have ITOs who can participate. Max Kanyerezi, Peter Mugisha, Shan, who are doing work at the regional level and international level. Because you see in sports you have national level, regional, international. So if you transcend these 3 levels, then you know that yes. So in terms of swimming, we've been able to populate at all those levels. We are regional champions in swimming. We went to Kigali, our team beat everybody. So within the zone, we are champions. That Kenya used to beat us hands down, but now Uganda is competitive. In Africa, we're also competitive. So when I look back, even at my time in swimming, I have a certain sense of satisfaction. Of course, not everything was achieved. One of the things that was not done was getting our own pool and office. That is still something President Mwase is working on, and we are supporting him in that endeavor. At the UOC, we have now stabilized the UOC. It used to be a bit, you know, where we have come from. We have a good working relationship with our members. We are on track with our strategic plan. We had the best Olympics ever in Tokyo. 5 medals, 25 big team, 25 for the first time. So overall, we have got sponsors. We have a good relationship with government now. We don't have those old days of, having this oxykamigua. So overall, when I look back, I think it's about, and we put systems in place, the financial system. We had a few problems with our finances, but these have been overcome. Because we make mistakes, and these mistakes, the issue is not to make deliberate mistakes, but learn from them and go and improve. I think we over-trusted a few of our colleagues, which I think is one of my biggest regrets in sports. But overall, I think when I look back, things have moved in terms. I don't want to get into the personal, those and history will judge whether we have been good or not. I have a friend called Martin Kadu. He always tells me that he makes a distinction between Don and the person and Don, the president of UOC, and he has an issue with Don, the president of UOC, which is fine. You need to sort of have a balance. But to me, it's about having that openness and moving things forward. And I think that to me, when I look back, there's a certain measure of capacity building has been something we did.
Even with the achievements, this seasoned administrator says, we still have a long way to go.
It's the other way around, if I'm to be honest. I think that's one of the key challenges we have in sports in Uganda, is that there is no manual for being a sports. Now there's courses, sports administration courses. But I find that to me, having worked outside sports, so as I said, if you look at working for private practice, working for government, working for diplomatic corps, or what we call the international community, working with civil society, working in the academia, especially when it came to working for government and working for the diplomatic system. It teaches you about system. One thing about that we need to work hard in sports, which I do every day, where I wake up every morning, is we need to put system. People say Ruzungu. They always accuse me, Ruzungu. Yeah. It's not, but you see, English is what makes things move. Call it English, may I call it systems, processes. We need to put systems in place. Team selection policy, the way you do things, the way you run meetings, the way you write reports. All these things help the organizations to grow. If you're to move from one stage to another, amateur to profession, you need this, what people call Luzung, but you need these systems in place. Now, government has systems. Now, for example, one of the national council, this 50 national sport, if you receive government money and you don't have system, what for you're calling Luzung, then you'll end up in places of detention. So systems is something we need, not only in Uganda, in general. That's why I have to join politics one day.
You're serious?
Yeah, because when I see some of our people, really, we need to really up our game. But that's a different story. But we need systems. So systems are critical. How do you run? Do you have a financial management system, human resource manual, team selection policy, safe? These things help you. Now, having worked for government, having worked in the international community, it gives you that work ethic, which I think has helped me translate that into sports. You see, that's why I think that helps me in terms of the rigor of once you work in government, there's a system you have to follow. Believe it or not, there are systems in government. I know people always knock out government, but governments have systems. They teach you memos, lost minutes, procurement, PPDA, all these things. Then working for the diplomatic corps, that was even more serious. Accountability, transparency, things that we need to translate into sports. If you go for an event, you write a back-to-office report. You keep your boarding passes. Do you have a human resource manual? Are you applying it? Do you have a strategic plan? Government has a strategic plan. It's called the National Development Plan 3. It guides government policy. Now, in sports, how many federations have strategic plans? And they are following them. We're now preparing for the Olympics. We're preparing for the African Games. Do you have a team selection policy? So see Ruzungu. But if you don't have these things, then you're managing by accident, managing by crisis. And there in many ways, that's why in sports we need to up our game. But I think many things, stability and having a long-term vision is very critical in any system, whether it is in the Ugandan general politics or even in sports. You can't divorce sports from where we're coming from. But also giving sports the visibility. Now our parents sort of understand, especially like in swimming, many of them now have got scholarships. We have over 10, 15 young swimmers with scholarships abroad. So that the dividend of sports is being evident.
His advice to sports administrators:
we know we hold the dreams of these athletes in our hands as administrators. When I was a young athlete, my dreams were shattered because we never went anywhere. Ask me about the swimming. We used to be measured and we never went anywhere. Yeah? We never went anywhere when we were being measured as young swimmers. So most of our dreams, we never went to the Olympics, never went to Commonwealth. So when I look back, one of the reasons that drive why I wake up every morning and get into sports is not for the position. The positions are good. Yes, travel is nice. We enjoy that. But it's not about the travel. In my other jobs, I have opportunity to travel. But it's really about saying, when we wake up, are we making sure that the dreams of these young athletes that we hold as we as administrators are not shattered? So I always tell my team, whether I was at swimming or at the Olympics or the Commonwealth, is that we should never ever do any decision we take should never disadvantage the athlete. I really believe in that. Should never disadvantage. If you've been an athlete and you've been on the field of play, you cannot make a decision that is going to disadvantage the athlete. So that is why we wake up in the morning to do what we do, is that the dreams of these athletes should not be let down. Because we used to be measured and never went anywhere. Say you're going to go, nothing. So I tell guys, it's never do that to these young athletes. Give them their full potential. If they have to train, they have to get their opportunities, their kit, their allowances, they should get what is due to them and let them go out there and do the best they can do. And if they can get something, if they can even pursue a career in it, even the best, then they'll be happy. So that, to me, I find that the sports administration, yes, it has, we maybe had some attributes, but I think most of them came from outside sport, and now we are infusing them. And it's not easy because people fight you. Yeah, people fight you. But I still think that it's a fight worth having, because we need to institute systems, policies and processes in sport, which will be our enduring legacy when we leave. That if, for example, in the past year at the UOC, our assemblies would say start at 9, they start at midday and they end at 5. That's not acceptable. Nowadays they start at 9, people know how much they start at 9, by 11 you're finished. The annual report will be sent to you 2 weeks before, the audited accounts will be sent to you. So we have to do things in an orderly fashion. And that I really believe in. So it's not luzung, it's about really putting these systems in place so that when we leave, now that will become a way of life. Things like even minutes that we talk about here. When I was Secretary General, we would give minutes within 12 hours. And that now is the standard here. So anybody who comes to Secretary General knows that that's what they have to and even better it. And if they better it now, Beatrice sends them out earlier, which is good. So we're happy that we are moving on. And I think, to me, that's what we need as sports, that we work as a family and we really together rise the whole tide for sports in Uganda. Uganda has immense talent. What we need to do now, we have been lucky to have very active ministers of sport. We had Honorable Bakabulinde for 14 years. Honorable Boa came in 2 years, COVID, but he did extremely well. Honorable Boa is picking up. You know, in sports, it's like the relay. So the ministers have been very good. Our main minister, Mama Janet, the First Lady, and Minister of Education and Sports, is very supportive. So is His Excellency the President. So there's an emergence, that a recognition that sport can contribute to very many things: sport and tourism, sport and development, sport and health, sport and livelihoods, sport for competition. So all these different, they have a new law, excellent, we are moving. There are a few things we need to tweak. Facilities, we're now having, we have been told there's going to be a new arena in Lugogo, very welcome. There are going to be new and renovated pitches for AFCON. When we see the number of world champions we have, Olympic champions in various sports, those who are road cycling are never qualified for Olympics. We now have someone coming from cycling. So for me, what we need to do is to keep the course, keep the stability, keep the focus on the systems, improve our governance, both operational governance and financial governance, And then I believe working as a team. Where we make mistakes, we help each other. This fighting in sports should stop. Yeah, in sports you compete, the person loses, wins, you move on. I think this bickering, it had stopped a bit, now it's coming up. I wish we could put it down, put our heads down, roll up our sleeves, and work. We have a lot of things. So that's why I said I really want to join politics, because there are many things we need to sort out. If we had time, we'll talk about even the wider thing, our health sector system that we need to work on. When we're working about, look at our set of our roads, governance. So there are many things that already, a lot of things have been done, a lot achieved. But I think we, as I don't say the young people, but we need to really. I don't think being Ugandan or being African should be equated with doing things in a with mediocrity. We should aspire for higher. I always tell my team, don't compare yourself to the least common denominator. Compare yourself to the highest. So if in sports you're saying we want to be like America, we want to be like Nigeria or South Africa. In fact, one of our strategic plans here used to be we need to be like South Africa at one point. Right? So we should always, at a personal level and institutional level, never benchmark yourself against the lowest common. Don't say, oh, because now there is water for 5 hours or there's electricity for 12. We should have electricity for 24 hours, 365, which now is what we have. So even in sports, we should not say, oh, because now there's something. No, we should always aspire to better ourselves. And it's not a one end, it's a continuous journey. And I really think all of us collectively in the sports sector should aspire to do that.
Rukare's recent top administration role, among others, is the vice presidency for the Commonwealth Games Federation, to which he was elected in late 2023. The ardent sportsman also represented Uganda in the Masters swimming competition last month in Nairobi, Kenya.
Goal!